You know, in the real world, the nitty-gritty of the real world, when you fail, you get fired. In government, when you fail, you get more money because obviously you need it. Now, let me ask you a fourth time. If President Lopez Obrador, and I'd appreciate an answer, if President Lopez Obrador invited the American military and our law enforcement personnel to come into Mexico and work with his, we could stop the cartels, couldn't we?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got something truly intense for you. Senator John Kennedy grilled the DEA Administrator over the worsening fentanyl crisis and the role Mexican cartels play in it. The tension is palpable as Kennedy pushes for real action, questioning why the U.S. isn't doing more. But the answers he got, they might not be what you'd expect. Before I dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Alright, let's get into it. It begins when Kennedy questions the DEA Administrator about the Mexican cartels responsible for flooding the U.S. with fentanyl. Kennedy asks if the U.S. could stop these cartels if President Lopez Obrador invited American forces to work alongside theirs. The administrator sidesteps, talking about cooperation but not answering directly. Kennedy presses again. If invited, could we stop the cartels? The administrator mentions a comprehensive effort, but Kennedy's frustration is clear. He's looking for a clear answer, and he's not getting it. Kennedy believes U.S. involvement could stop the cartels. But why hasn't the government done that? Kennedy shifts gears, questioning the increasing funding to fight fentanyl and the cartels. Despite more funding, things seem to be getting worse. Kennedy calls out the spending and lack of results. He questions why, after all this spending, the situation is still out of control. Instead of accountability, the solution seems to be more funding. Kennedy asks why President Biden hasn't called President Lopez Obrador to make a deal to stop the cartels. Kennedy argues that Mexico's economy relies on the U.S. and we're in a position to get this done. The DEA Administrator's response remains vague. She insists on the importance of addressing fentanyl at the government level, yet there seems to be a lack of urgency from President Biden, according to Kennedy. Kennedy accuses the DEA Administrator and President Biden of making excuses rather than taking decisive action. The American people are losing loved ones, and Kennedy demands real solutions. He makes it clear that it's about saving lives. The government needs to do whatever it takes to get the job done.
If President Lopez Obrador invited the American military and or American law enforcement officials to come into Mexico to work with the same in Mexico, we could stop the cartels, could we not?
Senator, I believe this is a whole of government effort and has to be, including whether it's the military, us, FBI,
now,
and others.
Madam Administrator, I've listened to you here for almost an hour telling us how bad fentanyl is. Thank you for that, but we know.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you a third time. If President Lopez Obrador invited the American military and our law enforcement personnel to come into Mexico and work with the same in Mexico, we could stop the cartels. Isn't that a fact?
So, Senator, I can speak to the law enforcement side of this, and you just mentioned law enforcement. I believe that this is vital for both Mexico and the United States. Mexicans are dying as well, as we showed in the Chapitos.
Well, then why don't we stop them?
So
would it help? Let me ask you a fourth time. Would it help if President Lopez Obrador, I don't think it's a complicated question, Madam Administrator. You're asking us for more money every year, more money, and it gets worse, worse, and worse. You know, in the real world, the nitty-gritty of the real world, when you fail, you get fired. In government, when you fail, you get more money because obviously you need it. Now, let me ask you a fourth time. If President Lopez Obrador, and I'd appreciate an answer, if President Lopez Obrador invited the American military and our law enforcement personnel to come into Mexico and work with his, we could stop the cartels, couldn't we?
I believe, Senator, that we can stop the cartels.
Okay, have you made that suggestion to President Biden?
If I could, I believe that we can stop the cartels by...
Have you made that suggestion to President Biden?
Senator, I have been very vocal in the whole of government setting on the importance of fentanyl, and all of us using every single effort and authority that we have.
Why hasn't President Biden done it? I mean, this is the way the American people, whose sons and daughters are dying, look at it. Our economy is $23 trillion. Mexico's economy is $1.3 trillion. Ours is 18 times bigger. We buy $400 billion every year from Mexico. Without the people of America, Mexico, figuratively speaking, would be eating cat food out of a can and living in a tent behind an outback. So why don't you and the president, embarrassing no one, get on the phone and call President Lopez Obrador and make him a deal he can't refuse to allow our military and our law enforcement officials to go into Mexico and work with his to stop the cartels. Why don't you do that?
Senator, what I am doing every single day is working with the incredible men and women of DEA who are risking their lives across 334 offices worldwide.
And I appreciate that, but you're not doing what would work. Why won't you do what will work?
Senator, we are...
Why don't you call the president this afternoon and say, Mr. President, let's call President Lopez Obrador privately and make him a deal he can't refuse. Because we both know that President Lopez Obrador has neither the ability nor the will to stop the cartels. But yet we go along and pretend that they're our friends, and Mexico is our friend. But he has criminal organizations that are killing our people, and you know how to stop it, and the president does. And you're not doing it.
Senator, we are working every day to stop it.
But you're not doing what would stop it.
We are transforming, and we are working in countless ways across the globe to do what needs to be done for the American people. And there is nothing that the men and
when
women...
it's important to you, you make it happen. When it's not important to you, you make an excuse.
And there you have it, folks. A fiery exchange raising serious questions about the U.S. government's strategy. Are we doing enough? Should we take a more aggressive approach with Mexico? What do you think? Should the U.S. step in more directly to stop the cartels? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the latest updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next